Ahoy hoy YouTube! You know what time it is? It's Comix time. This month's haul was kind of average, maybe a little above average. There was I don't know, 6 issues or so. That's probably right around the usual, pretty average. The first thing up is issue number 21 of Void Rivals, and the shit is finally starting to hit the fan in this issue. So there's basically 3 individual happenings going on. First, if you remember the Skuxoids that got split into multiple Skuxoids, the 2 that recently got sent, I think one of them died again or got banished or taken somewhere, but the one that survived, he woke up amidst all these other Skuxoids and he's like, bah! He went crazy because he's like, let me out of here. I don't want to be in captivity. And they're like, you don't leave. We're just here. And he's like, fuck you, we are. And he got in a fight with all the other Skuxoids and basically beat them down. And then that weird droid was watching and kind of reporting stuff. And so eventually later on in the issue, in between the other action, he is called by this droid to follow him somewhere. And he ends up going to the chamber of that Skuxoid Prime, the guy that leads them all. And because I think Skuxoid Prime, liked what he saw when Skuxoid beat down all of the other Skuxoids. But we don't find out what exactly he wants. The last panel of that part of the story, we just see him entering the chamber and meeting with Skuxoid Prime. So as far as the other 2, something's happening on Zertonia, something's happening on Agoria, the 2 cultures that clash but really need to unite to defeat the Goliath problem. So on Zertonia, Proximus is sitting on the throne, and he's got that little kid, I forget his name, Olmut or something like that, and they're kind of talking, and while they're talking, I forget the name. He was like the leader of the Zertonians before he went off a number of issues ago to see the true light of the situation, and he had all those like women priests or whatever. So we saw maybe last issue, the issue before that, he finished those trials and was ready to return. So in this instance, he returns, sees Proximus sitting on the throne and goes, oh no you don't. And then they get in a fight, and this guy rips Proximus's helmet off and part of his face, and it looks like Proximus is actually some sort of robot or something, so his face is half missing, and you can see wires and steel and stuff. And after he does this, Proximus seems to come to his senses and goes, oh, sorry, I know unity has to happen, the sacred texts are bullshit, I'm ready to serve in whatever you need. And so then they plan out what they're doing next, and the little kid is kind of hanging around going, Jesus Christ, the guy just ripped his face off, right? So on Agoria, Derek and Salila are talking things out after their scuffle, after Derek's father tried to convince him that unity couldn't happen due to the sacred text. Remember Salila arrived and they got into a skirmish. So they've calmed down after they got over that skirmish. So now Derek's dad is kind of sitting there stubbornly and is seemingly willing to listen, but very reluctantly so. But things have calmed down, and they're allowing themselves to talk and figure things out. But soon enough, an alarm starts beeping in whatever facility they're in. They run outside. Hot Rod and Springer are there, and they go, what was it? And it's like, oh, proximity alert. We got incoming. So Proximus and the other guy's plan was, well, we're going to go attack Agoria. So that's who's coming to attack Agoria, is the Zertonians and all their spaceships. So a big dust-up ends up happening. And basically, I think at the end of the issue, I don't think anything is resolved. I think it's just we see the start of the action. Yeah, Hot Rod and Springer get involved. In the very last panel, we see Proximus with his sword charging, and then we see, I think, Springer go, not you again. Because remember, way early in the series, when they first discovered Springer, Derek and Salila, when they landed in that debris field after being chased, they came upon Springer, but then Proximus and the Zertonian forces chased them down, and they got into a bit of a battle, and Springer ended up putting Proximus in the hospital, so to speak. So Springer's like, oh, are you kidding me? This clown again? So now we've got an attack on Agoria going on, so I feel like the end is pushed upon us now at this point, because the final battle between the two nations has started. So things are either going to go very wrong very shortly, or they're going to go very right very shortly. But I think we might finally be in the ending throes of this storyline. We'll see. Alrighty, Roo. Next up, we got 3 issues of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. First up is issue 27 of the Saturday Morning Adventures series, which is more based on the OG 87 cartoon. So in this one, the turtles are in the lair, and Donnie has invented some sort of like armored suit that the turtles can wear. And the guys are like, well, why do we need that? We have shells. Like, we're pretty armored already. And Donnie's like, well, you can do this and can do that. And like, more armor is better than not more armor, right? And Splinter's like, yes, I agree with Donatello. This is a good idea or whatever. So they basically go out on patrol, and Donnie wears the suit, and they kind of test it out, and it goes kind of awkwardly as they move on and start breaking up crimes and stuff like that, right? In the meantime, Shredder and Krang and the Pantheon are in wherever their hideout is, and Hob is taking control of things and introducing General Krang to their ranks now. And Shredder's like, what about me? I'm the leader here, blah blah blah. And then Hob is continuing on, and then Draco, one of the Pantheon members, he's like a dragon, challenges Hob and says, why are we listening to you? Like, all you've done is lead us into ruin time and time again. The turtles are still alive. We haven't gone anywhere. And then Hob fights back, whatever. It's like, blah, blah, blah. You're not capable to lead, blah, blah, blah. So then Krang gets the idea, like, well, how about this? Anybody who wants to challenge for Hob's leadership of the Pantheon, why don't you prove it by going out and defeating the turtles? Whoever can do that, obviously, is the best candidate. So Draco goes out to do just that. And he attacks the turtles while they're in the middle of, like I said, breaking up one of these crimes. And they have a bit of a skirmish, and then he manages to capture and fly off with Donatello and Leonardo. So he takes them to some rooftop building and tells Raph and Mikey that you've got, I think it was an hour or whatever, to turn yourselves in or whatever, or the brothers get it, something to that effect. So Raph and Mikey are like, oh, hell no. So Mikey dons the suit, and hey, through some cleverness, they end up defeating Draco, sending him to the bottom of the Hudson or the East River or whatever the hell it is. And they end up defeating Draco, getting away with their lives. And of course, Draco doesn't get leadership of the Pantheon. And back at the lair afterwards, before the issue ended, Donnie was like, oh man, it was a failure. And Michelangelo's like, no way, dude. Like, I used your suit and we defeated Draco and we're all still alive. It was perfect. And Donnie's like, I know, but it rusted out all the mind control nodes or whatever, and I don't have any extras. And that's how the issue ends. They all laugh. Typical 80s cartoon, right? Next up, number 8 of Mutant Nation. This one's a 2-parter. The first one focuses on the character Angel, who I don't really know much about. She is in a bad place. You can tell she's down on herself. She's talking about her past and what went on, and now how she's so unsure, and how after the Armageddon game, all her allies and friends went their separate ways. Like, Jenica went off with the Pig Girl on tour for her rock band. Raph and oh shit, what's the little dinosaur? Fuck, I forget. Raph goes off with his little dinosaur buddy. Remember, they worked at that diner for that roadside saloon, and then went to Vegas. Alapex left with the Weasels. Casey Jones left with Karai. Donnie and Leo are both off doing their own thing. And now Hale, District Attorney Hale, has turned New York City into a military state with his foot patrol. So we realized soon after that Angel is in the process of getting some upgrades to her battle suit. And she's not taking to them well. So she keeps screwing things up. Her confidence is down. And when she goes back to the lab to consult with those that are helping her with the suit, which is, remember, the Fugitoid from the 2003 Turtles series, I think, is where he was first introduced, and that series is amazing. Um, yeah, so the Fugitoid, and then this guy Honeycutt, I think his name is, and then this other scientist named Libby. Is Honeycutt the Fugitoid? Yeah, Honeycutt's the Fugitoid. I forget. Harold, I think the other guy's name is. He's really given the gears to Angel for sucking and not being able to adapt to this equipment and being a real prick. He's a crusty old prick. And meanwhile, Libby's like, don't you talk to her like that. And then she goes and talks Angel up a little bit and said, he's just a grumpy old bitch. Like, it's going to take time to adjust to this. Like, you're doing great, whatever. So then she's like, just keep at it. And so then Angel goes out into the streets with the suit again, and she's still mulling things over. And then all of a sudden she hears trouble. It's a couple of mutant kids running with a bag of potato chips being chased by some foot patrol. And so Angel intervenes, beats down the foot patrol, and then asks the mutant kids, like, what are you doing? And they're like, well, we took this bag of chips. And Angel's like, well, did you take it because you're hungry and have nothing to eat and you need it? Or just because you're bored and you want to have some fun? And they're like, well, a little bit of both. So then she gives them kind of an ethics lesson on, you only steal food when you have none and you need it to survive, sort of thing. So then she gets some confidence back from this encounter. And when she goes back to the lab, the dick doctor gives her grief about something, and Libby and Angel are both like, shut the fuck up. Things are going great, you can shut the fuck up. So at the end, Libby and Angel are standing tall and proud with how that development went and how Angel's coming along with her equipment. So second part of the issue, it was an interesting issue. It was focused on Sally Pride and Baxter Stockman. It goes panel for panel. So it's a Sally panel, then it's a Stockman panel, Sally, Stockman, and it's all mostly internal thoughts. And each internal thought leads directly into the internal thought from the other person, and they kind of flow into each other. It's really neatly written. And they're both ruminating on their past lives. Sally, I don't know much about what Sally Pride did before, but she talks about testing prototype jets and racing race cars, but then going back to the lab at night into her cage and falling asleep exhausted from all the action she was up to. And then Baxter is talking about, of course, obviously his days as a mad scientist, working for Shredder and everything. And now Sally Pride is the leader of Mutant Town, kind of their unofficial mayor. Maybe she's the official mayor, but anyway, she's their leader. And now Baxter Stockman what is he exactly? Is he a governor or he's the mayor? Is he the mayor? Yeah, he's the mayor, gunning to maybe transform that even into a presidency. So their thoughts are mostly ruminating on how far they've come, but how they actually missed their old life because it was so much simpler. They're both exhausted and tired from all the politics of politics, right? That sort of thing. So really cool the way it led into each person's thought led into the others. And in the end of the issue, they're both out and about doing their own thing. Baxter's got to get to a debate that will greatly help his presidency campaign. And Sally Pride's out traveling to an interview or something like that. And Sally notices that Baxter is on the road with her and is very much going to be late for his debate. And she mulls it over and she's like, well, Baxter's not the greatest, obviously. We've had, our run-ins and stuff, but it's more the evil than the evil that could be coming from outside that's worse, right? So she ends up getting Baxter to the debate on time to help him hopefully succeed in his goals, his political goals. So very, very interesting issue, like I said, for the thoughts that flowed into each other, but then to see Sally Pride help Baxter Stockman, it's like, what the fuck is going on, right? Last up, issue 10 of the regular ongoing Turtle series. And look at this. Coming in August. A Shredder sub-series? Damn straight. It's about time. So in this issue, remember that the Turtles, Donnie turned himself in to Hale, and then the other Turtles ended up getting captured when they wanted to rescue him. So now they're all being held in a a cage at Central Park Zoo. So they're talking and they're yelling at each other, and they're trying to figure things out and about escaping and what they're going to do. And then finally they start talking for real. And Donnie's like, sorry guys, I had to get captured to make you guys see reason. And so they finally start talking things out from all the negativity and combativeness that's been between the four of them for so long. And so they bring it in like a family and huddle and try to get back to more of their old state. But of course they start arguing again. But it looks like some part of the bridge has been unburned by this action, even if it's just the start of the process, but that first step has been made. And then there's a brief little thing here where Casey Jones wakes up in the hospital and yells, "Hale," because remember Hale shot him at the end of one of these issues, and we didn't know if he was dead or whatever. So he wakes up in the hospital like he's been taken care of. And then there's another short interlude that shows Hale out in the streets, and he stumbles upon a homeless encampment that are kind of opposed to him, and he lights it on fire and kills a bunch of people, I do believe. So the guy is a complete fucking lunatic, right? And then the way the issue ends, the last half of the issue is basically the Turtles go to court, and Hale's trying to prosecute them from all the stuff that has gone on. Remember when Raph broke out of the jail to start this whole new Turtles series off? A bunch of prison wardens got killed, and then all the other infractions that the other three Turtles did as well. So they're trying to be prosecuted for all this and either put to jail or put to death. I don't know what they plan on doing with them, but they want to take the Turtles down once and for all. So they're having this trial, and Hale's got all these witnesses, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, Donnie, they're not getting official representation. Donnie's doing it for them. And he gets up and makes a statement like, I just want you to know that Turtles aren't violent, and we've never hurt anybody or murdered anybody. Thank you, right? So it's like, Donnie, what the fuck kind of argument was that? But Donnie seems to be so calm throughout. It sounds like he has some sort of plan. Or at least that's the impression that you get. And halfway through the trial, Raph is complaining about how he was set up in that prison warden murder. It wasn't him who killed him. He was set up to look like he did. And then in the courtroom, he sees the three goons from the prison that set him up. And so he loses it, and a fracas ensues. So then they have to be subdued and brought back to heel, and the trial continues. So they're not doing themselves any favors, right? But what we see as the issue closes off is we see a little rat scurry into the hallway, and there's two foot patrol guys outside the courtroom, and they're like, "Whew, the rats just keep getting bigger and bigger, eh?" And I can't remember how it goes, but then all of a sudden April O'Neil pops out of nowhere with a Casey Jones mask and a hockey stick, and she's like, it was something like, the rat's the least of your problems, and starts beating on them. So I think April showing up like that has something to do with Donnie's plan to get them out of trouble in the courtroom. I could be wrong. Could just be coincidence that April's there, but I feel like that's all part of it, and he's got something cooking. So I can't wait to see where he goes with that. And I also can't wait to pick up that first issue of Shredder. Next up, just one lonely issue of Transformers again. Like, where are all the sub-series? Come on, Image, get with it, please. For me, for the Transformer rights. Issue 21, no, 22 of the regular ongoing Transformer series. So this one really moved the story along quite a bit in a whole bunch of different ways. It was a real action-packed issue with little short bursts here and there. So I might have to piece my way through it again because there's lots of stuff going on. I don't want to forget it all. So basically, it starts off with, if you remember at the end of the last issue, the Autobots were fleeing from the Decepticons after the Ark disappeared, thanks to Skywarp and Thundercracker. And Megatron had shot down Superion and killed Slingshot. I think it was Slingshot. So it picks up at the start of this issue with Superion crashing after he got blasted by Megatron. And, you know, in the aftermath, like, everybody's lying around. Prime's almost dead. Superion's hurting. They're all in deep trouble, but they feel like the Decepticons are still on their ass, but they're powerless at this point, right? So all of a sudden, these headlights appear out of nowhere, and it's a bunch of humans. And the Autobots are like, "Shit! Don't shoot! Like, we're the Autobots. Come on, we're the good guys." And then this guy gets out, and they're actually friendly. It's a doctor that had met the Autobots earlier in the series when the Decepticons were ravaging, I think, Seattle or whatever, and the Autobots were trying their best to help protect the hospital and everything and save human lives. So they're like, "It's time we pay you back for how you helped us." So the humans hide them, and in the meantime, Wheeljack's like, they're asking Wheeljack, like, "Is Optimus Prime gonna die?" And he's like, "Yeah." So then Prime starts having more problems, and all of a sudden the Matrix of Leadership pops out of his chest, and it looks like his ascent into darkness is accelerating. And so Spike does something rash in hopes to save Optimus. He puts his own hand inside of the Matrix of Leadership and grabs Optimus's hand, and they both kind of go unconscious after they do this. And Wheeljack thinks that Prime is suffering all these problems and being blocked from the Matrix Leadership because, remember, Spike's dad, Sparkplug, went inside the Matrix to save, I think, Spike or Optimus or somebody earlier in the series. So Spike thinks maybe he can do something similar and help save Prime. Meanwhile, okay, what else is going on? Ultra Magnus is being held captive by the U.S. Army. Remember, the G.I. Joe character Doc was kind of presiding over it before somebody of higher rank came and showed up and he started doing experiments on Ultra Magnus. So that's what's happening now. And Doc can't really seem to let it go. So he turns on his own forces and releases Ultra Magnus from captivity, and they drive out of the facility. And after a while, they stop, and Ultra Magnus transforms, and he talks to Doc. He's like, "Why did you do that?" And Doc's like, "I was once held captive by an enemy force who, you know, tortured me, so I couldn't stand to let this continue," sort of thing. So Ultra Magnus says, "Oh, thanks." He's like, "Well, do you want to come with?" And Doc is like, ever the honorable G.I. Joe, says, "Nope. I gotta face the consequences for my actions." Meh. What else? Megatron and Soundwave and those guys are out in the wilderness contemplating the aftermath of the battle with the Autobots, and they're talking about what their plans are, what they're going to do. And Megatron's like, "Call off the attack on the Autobots," and Soundwave's like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh, we'll take care of them, but I want Prime to learn one last lesson before I take his life." It's like, hope always lets you down, or hope never dies. That's a lie, right? Like, he wants to get Optimus's hope up that he's going to live and everything's going to be okay before he comes in and ends him when he's least expecting it, I guess, something like that. And a couple other storylines. The U.S. Army is scrambling fighter jets against Starscream because he's going on a rampage, killing humans. And in the meantime, Devastator and Bruticus are also still fighting, and they're attacking an aircraft carrier or something like that, and they're keeping tally, like, "I've killed 17 of them," and then Devastator's like, "I've got 21," and so they're having this little contest of killing humans. And what is on Cybertron, if you remember from last time, Alita 1 and all of her troops there's Blue Streak, Cliffjumper, Shredhead, a bunch of others, have got a portal back to Earth up and running, but they only have enough energon to send one person through. And Alita 1's like, "Cliffjumper, you need to go. You belong on Earth. You have stakes down there. You go finish the job, and we'll meet again someday. It's all good." And Cliffjumper's like, "No, I think it should be Shredhead. He's the most powerful. Like, that's gonna help with the cause." And Alita 1's like, "No, it's you. Now go." So then Cliff goes, "Okay, well, Shredhead, I love you, bro. Like, it's been great seeing you. I'll see you soon. And then he kicks him and throws Shredhead through the portal. And Alita One's like, what did you do? And Cliff's like, sorry, what I had to do. And she's like, put the traitor in chains. It's like, what a bitch. Like, fuck. He's not a traitor. He just made a decision that you didn't agree with. Like, who made you boss, Alita One? I'm not liking this bitch. I'm going to tell you that. And then I think the only other part of the story, there's the Autobots fleeing, there's Cliff in the portal, there's Spike entering the Matrix. Oh yeah, so there's a brief panel after Spike and Prime join hands when he's in the Matrix. There's a brief one-page panel that shows Optimus kind of like in a otherworldly state, and he's in the Hall of Prime. So it looks like maybe Prime and Spike are off in another realm right now, and maybe they'll find the answers they need to come back. We'll find out next month, hopefully. And then the only other thing I think was Carly had been captured by the U.S. Army, and General Flag is asking her all these questions about like the Autobots and Decepticons. Like, what do you know about them? You have to know lots of stuff. And she's like, no, I told you, I don't know anything. I know they're alien robots. I was hanging out with the Autobots. They're the good guys. Decepticons are the bad guys. That's it. And so that was pretty much all that panel had to say. So I don't know much about what's going on there, but hopefully somebody can get back and save her ass. But General Flag's good. I mean, he's part of G.I. Joe, right? So hopefully they'll... I guess they were torturing Ultra Magnus, though, so I don't know. This is kind of tarnishing my image of G.I. Joe, right? And after I just opened those classified toys the other day. Last up, a lonely issue of G.I. Joe, and it's not the regular ongoing series. It's that kind of origin series, number 10. A few things going on in this one. If you remember at the end of the last issue, Baroness had been granted 48 or 72 hours or something like that leave after begging for it. But Duke's compromise was that CoverGirl was going with you to keep her eyes on you. So remember, they went to that cafe in Paris, and Baroness was explaining to CoverGirl, like, that's my parents over there. I come here. This is their anniversary. I will come here every year to watch them. And CoverGirl's, why don't you go say something? No, I'm just disappointed, man. We don't understand each other, whatever. But then eventually they got attacked, and that's kind of where that issue left off. So it was Raptor. Remember Raptor? I just unboxed him the other day. Part of that G.I. Joe unboxing, yeah. Raptor. He shows up and goes after the girls and sixes birds on everybody and explains to them, like, Baroness, you're pretty hard to track down, but I gotcha. And Major Blood, he wants you. So they end up skirmishing a bit, but then they realize that Raptor was just a distraction because Major Blood then enters the scene and distracts them, and then Raptor ends up capturing the two of them in nets and taking them away to Blood's facility. So that's how that portion of the story ends. Well, it doesn't end there, actually. There's lots more to go, but for the time being. And next we see, at the pit, we see Duke and Risk at the firing range. And Risk is saying to Duke, like, Duke, have you noticed, like, Clutch since we got back from that mission after being undercover with Cobra to try and escape? He's been acting a little funny. Remember, Clutch stumbled upon Hound, the Transformer, so that's why he's acting weird, not because he's gone rogue or anything. And Duke's like, no, I haven't noticed anything. I mean, give the guy a break. Like, he just had to survive the ranks of Cobra until we got out of that pickle. So then it shows Hound and Clutch down in the guts of the pit somewhere, and Hound's explaining to Clutch his situation and the war between the Autobots and Decepticons, how they came to Earth, but now he's been cut off from everybody, so he doesn't know what's going on out there with the Transformers. And then Hound starts going like, oh God. And he's like, I need Energon. And so Clutch is like, we'll find you somebody. Yeah, so that is that. Having a hard time remembering. When they have so many jump arounds in a story, right? You kind of forget things. Oh yeah, the other one. Destro's on the line with, I forget the guy's name. He's a Cobra. He's a big beefy Cobra guy. He looks like a kind of a televiper, but he's a big beefy guy, and he seems to be like a leadership type. And he's talking to Destro about this guy that they brought in having a cell, and he's Looney Tunes, and he was part of the force that encountered Starscream, the transforming robot, which Destro is like, oh, that's the same bot that corresponds with Duke's sighting. So then he's like, okay, do we tell Cobra Commander? And Destro's like, nope, this is just for us to know. And then Destro's like, oh yeah, eliminate this guy. Nobody needs to know. Nothing needs to be getting out about transforming robots, right? Like Destro's trying to keep all this Transformer stuff on the down low, away from other people. So then you see this guy eliminate the guy in the cell. And then I guess, yeah, okay, that was the only other thing. So then the end of the issue goes back to the main storyline. So back at Major Blood's lair, he's got Baroness and CoverGirl down in this pit. And he's like, if you guys want to get out of the pit, here's how it's going to go. And Major Blood wears like an eye patch sort of thing. He's missing an eye or something. And he goes, Baroness, since you took my eye, CoverGirl, you're going to get out of here if you maim Baroness just like she maimed me. And he's like, Baroness, you're only getting out of that pit if you kill CoverGirl. And then they're like, no, we can't do that, blah, blah, blah. And so then we see Major Blood threaten. He's like, well, you know what? Raptor saw your parents, and he now knows where they live. So he can go deal with them unless you play ball here. And but at the ending panel of the issue, we don't see Baroness suddenly going like, well, you bitch, I'm going to kill you. Because under that threat, she wants to save her parents, right? We actually see CoverGirl take the initiative first, and you can't really tell because she's kind of behind Baroness on this angle, but it looks like there's blood flying out of her back. So I don't know if she's stabbed and shanks her in the back or something, because Major Blood did also throw down a dagger to them both. So it looks like that's what she's done right at the end of the issue, is stab Baroness in the back. So I guess CoverGirl really wants to get out of that pit and don't give a fuck how.
Meow.